what destroys most relationships or kicks people out of the honeymoon phase is that buildup of tartar from having fights, and then you sort of make up, but you haven't fully resolved the things because you're not willing to talk for 8 hours or 12 hours or however many, And so you might have even said sorry to each other, and you might even be sorry, but you haven't actually resolved the issue.
I acted in ways in our conversation that I've never acted and felt crazy to me.
Yeah.
But it was like this built up like emotions that from previous conversations that I was kind of shoving things under the rug or had things built up I didn't even realize was really happening. Because I was also glad that, we had resolved a bigger issue. Right. And so I thought that that was the bigger problem. Yeah, I think we got to a lot of good core things to talk about as well, too, that might help other people more than just like, look at the problem together rather than attacking each other. Like, people say that, and it is true.
Right.
But I think that we really realized how to do that better, and we can explain that better. And also, like I mentioned, like, it's important to talk the whole thing out, but also how you talk to each other can help you resolve things quicker than it being a whole day conversation sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think it's good that, we didn't, like you said, we sometimes we have very long conversations, but we always get to the bottom of it.
Right.
And we don't sweep things under the rug. And that's something that, I always like to use the whole flossing your teeth, the tooth decay, the tartar analogy for relationships, which what destroys most relationships or kicks people out of the honeymoon phase is that buildup of tartar from having fights, and then you sort of make up, but you haven't fully resolved the things because you're not willing to talk for 8 hours or 12 hours or however many, And so you might have even said sorry to each other, and you might even be sorry, but you haven't actually resolved the issue.
Right.
So you're sweeping it under the rug, and that's just resentment that's building up.
Which I even had some of that. We found out in our
cleaned
conversation.
It out. We cleaned out.
I was like, I just had this energy inside of me that just didn't feel like normal. And then after we talked about it, it was, from me not, I guess, expressing fully what was bothering me. And also, I guess, getting you to realize or like talking through it enough so that you could understand why I was like emotionally backed up.
Yeah.
Because I acted in ways in our conversation that I've never acted and felt crazy to me.
Yeah.
But it was like this built up like emotions that from previous conversations that because our conversations are sometimes really long or sometimes they get derailed like in very early and talk about some other bigger issue, which is important, but some of those like early emotions that I want to bring up and talk to you get kind of overlooked because we've gone so far in this other direction.
Right.
And so they kind of stay there. Like I'm not hoarding them because I'm like, okay, like let's just get over it. But by the time we have the length of our conversations, I kind of even forget to bring up what it was or like now we're so far in this other direction that it's like, how do I bring this back up? Or, if I bring it up, is it going to just like cause a loop of the same conversation that we just did? So I realized that, the way that I was kind of shoving things under the rug or had things built up I didn't even realize was really happening. Because I was also glad that, we had resolved a bigger issue. And so I thought that that was the bigger problem. But I didn't realize that the issue that I would come to you originally, even though it wasn't as big as the bigger problem, those emotions were still there.
Sure. Yeah.
And they got skipped over by both of us. And so then I had this like, like I'm telling you, I felt like a kid that had sugar. I was like, I just need to shake myself. Like I need to shake. But I also like dance. And dance does help me kind of get out some of that emotional energy that I normally might have left over and I didn't get to dance that week. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. I'm so used to like, you know, letting it out because it felt more of like I need to move right now. It wasn't like I was like angry, like in the sense of like, I need to punch something. It was just like, I need to like move my body because it was like so welled up inside of me. Yeah. But I didn't, but also like that's your body telling you, hey, like something is going on. Like you've bottled some things up and now you feel like you need to just shake it out. Like your body can also give you hints at things that you have going on that you might not even realize.
But and it turned out to be a good thing. Like I was telling you, because you know,
I still don't feel like it's a good thing. But
delved into your psychology of the kind of perfectionism and, you know, based on your childhood and how you had felt, you kind of developed this pattern of being afraid of making a mistake or being wrong or being perceived as bad or wrong, meaning that if you're wrong, you did something wrong, someone thinks you did something wrong, then you can't be loved anymore. You're not. And so it was kind of good that you went off the rails a little bit to see that it's okay, that I'm still going to love you. I'm not even going to be offended by that.
Well, it wasn't okay, but I understand what you're like.
Yeah, but it is. It's part of the human experience. It's not something that you want to try and do or that you want to make a habit of, but it's also like you do need to, as a human, have the freedom to make mistakes or to do things that like to not necessarily hold it in. Sometimes you just let it out and still feel like you're okay, that you're still loved, right? Again, it's not that I'm saying that this is the way that you should act, right, on it. But at the same time, for someone who's struggling with that, right, I think that was a good thing because then you could see, okay, even if I go off the rails, and I think this is honestly, you know, as I've talked to a lot of guys and, you know, have, you know, been in the space of the psychology and relationships and stuff for a long time, a lot of women, I think in general, are afraid that if my guy could see me at my worst, my craziest bitchy or whatever it is, then he wouldn't love. If he really knew what I was really like when I'm not holding it all together, then he wouldn't love me. And it's like a deep insecurity. And so in some way, it's good to overcome that, to realize, no, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how, whatever happens, however messed up you are in a moment, at your worst, I still love you as much as at your best.